Good day everyone, we are the STAR, Special Tactics and Analysis Response. Today, we'll revisit one of the most significant and controversial cases in the Philippine history, the Dacer-Corbito double murder case. In 2000, Salvador Dacer, a well-known publicist, and his driver, Corbito, were brutally killed. Their deaths quickly become a topic of a national concern, drawing attention due to the political connection and high-profile figures involved. For over 22 years, the case remained unsolved, but a recent breakthrough has resulted in the arrest of key suspects, reigniting the public's interest in the pursuit of justice. This case highlights the challenge of law enforcement, the complexities of political power, and enduring fight for accountability, especially when power figures are involved. As we look at the developments in this case, it is the stark reminder of the persistence required to seek injustice in the face of obstacles, and enduring the hope that one day justice will prevail. The case began on November 24, 2000 when Salvador Bobby Dacer and a prominent publicist and a driver Corbito were abducted by armed men along Makati-Manila boundary. They were on the way to the Manila Hotel. Days later, their burned bodies were discovered in Indang, Cavite. Investigation quickly pointed to the members of the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force or PAOCTF as the perpetrators. Several high-ranking officers were implicated, including Police Superintendent Michael Ray Aquino and Police Superintendent Cesar Mancao II and the others. The evidence came from the witness testimonies, mainly from former insiders, and the forensic analysis of the victims' remains and the belongings found near the crime scene. The case revealed disturbing overlap between law enforcement and abuse of power. Although some suspects were acquitted or had charges dropped, one officer, SPO3 Mauro Torres, was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to life imprisonment. After more than 2 decades of delayed justice, a key suspect was recently captured, renewing efforts to resolve one of the Philippines' most notorious murder case.
The timeline of the event. On November 24, 2000, both Salvador and his driver, Corbito, were abducted in Metro Manila. Later on, November 27, 2000, their vehicle was found abandoned in Maragondon, Cavite. Now, in early 2000s, which is 2001, a shared remains of Salvador and his driver, Corbito, were discovered in Indang, Cavite. Several arrests were made during that time, including the members of Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force such as SPO3 Mauro Torres, who later on confessed to the killings. A time skip. In the year 2017, Torres was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment without a parole. Now, in January 2023, two additional suspects were discovered, and one of them happens to be a former SPO1, William Red III, and Rolando Lacasanlile were arrested after 2 decades on hiding. Well, this case remains to be unsolved due to some individuals are getting involved, getting acquitted, dismissed due to the lack of evidence. And this case happens to be one of the popular here in the Philippines because the involvement of high ranking on this case that fuels the public interest among the Filipino.
Let's begin with the evidence that was collected during the investigation. Initially, authorities found the burned remains of two bodies in Indang, Cavite. Later confirmed to be publicist Salvador Dacer, or Bobby, and his driver Emmanuel Corbito. This discovery came weeks after their reported abduction on November 24, 2000. Key pieces of physical evidence included dental records and forensic analysis to identify the burned bodies. Personal items such as watches and IDs found near the crime scene. Vehicle traces and witness descriptions of the abduction site near South Superhighway. This evidence became the foundation for linking the crime to individuals affiliated with law enforcement. Forensic science played a crucial role in confirming the identities of the victims. Given the severely burned state of the bodies, dental comparison was essential. Forensic pathologists used the dental records of Dacer and Corbito to make positive identifications. Another key method was soil and environmental testing, which helped establish the timeline and circumstances of the body's disposal. Although forensic tools in the early 2000s were not as advanced as they are today, the investigation leaned heavily on the autopsy examination, bone structure, analysis, and matching of personal artifacts to confirm the identities and suspected cause of death. One of the most significant breakthroughs in the investigation came from witness testimonies, particularly from members of the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force, or PAOK-TF, which was allegedly behind the operation. Two key witnesses were Cesar Mancao II, a former police officer who testified in the United States and later deported to the Philippines. Glenn Dumlao, another officer who also turned state witness and involved high-ranking officials. Their testimonies claimed that the operation was politically motivated and had ties to then sitting officials. However, credibility of these testimonies was repeatedly challenged due to inconsistencies, alleged coercion, and questions about the state witness protection program. These pieces of evidence and testimonies set the stage for a high-profile legal battle that drew national attention. Let's now move on how this investigation translated into court action through the legal proceedings.
In November 2000, a prominent public relations practitioner Salvador Bobby Dacer, together with his driver Emmanuel Corbito, was abducted along Zobel Rojas Street in the city of Manila. Their charred remains consisting of burned bones, metal dental plates, and a ring were later found in Barangay Puna, Lejos, Indang, Cavite. They were positively identified by their dentists and by forensic pathologists from the University of the Philippines. Both victims were killed by strangulation, and on May 11, 2001, an information was filed by the panel of prosecutors with the RTC, or Regional Trial Court, the City of Manila. The following were charged with double murder. On November 24, 2000 in Manila, Philippines, and within the jurisdiction of this honorable court, the above named accused, some of whom are public officers, being then members of the Philippine National Police Force, assigned at Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force Camp Crame, Quezon City, SPO4 Soberano, SPO3 Torres, SPO3 Escaliante, Police Superintendent Tumlao, Police Inspector Arnardo, Police Inspector Langcuan, SPO4 Talwada, SPO3 Villanueva, SPO1 Sarmiento, SPO1 Reed, PO3 Lacandile, PO1 Sarmiento, and SPO1 Nemeno. With evident premeditation, treachery, abuse of superior strength, nighttime and remoteness of the place, and with deliberate intent to kill, conspiring, confabulating, and confederating with one another. The accused police officers, using their offices in the committing with the offenses, did then and there willfully, unlawfully, feloniously kill Salvador Bobby Dacer and the driver of Emmanuel Corbito by strangulation. On May 24, 2001, Soberano Escaliante Torres, Purificacion, Renato Malabanan, Juvencio Malabanan, and Roland moved to quash the information. Accused Police Superintendent Clem Tumlao was subsequently arrested, later executed a sworn statement implicating other police officers to Dacer and Corbito double murder. Specifically, Police Superintendent Michael Ray B. Aquino, Cesar Mancao, Fio3 Larry Ambre, and others, a certain rigor and all former defunct Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Task Force. After 22 years in hiding, a suspect in a double murder of publicist Salvador Bobby Dacer and his driver Emmanuel Corbito has been arrested, according to a statement issued on Wednesday, January 25, 2023 by the National Capital Region Police Office. And the suspect, former police officer, was identified as William Flores Reed, now 59 years old. He was arrested in Barangay Poblacion in Pulilan, Bulacan. Reed has pending arrest warrant dated May 25, 2001 and signed by Judge Rodolfo Ponferrada of Branch 41 of Manila Regional Trial Court. So, as of 2025, the Dacer-Corbito case remains officially unsolved, while some suspects were acquitted or had charges dismissed. The mastermind behind the crime have not been conclusively identified or prosecuted.
Multimedia. The Dacer-Corbito murder, the double murder case involving the 2000 abducting, of killing, and publicist Salvador Bobby Dacer. His driver Emmanuel Corbito remains one of the Philippines' most controversial political crimes. Over the years, various multimedia materials have documented this case, including victims' photos, crime scene images, and news footage. And about victim and crime scene photos, victims' photos, images of Salvador Dacer and Emmanuel Corbito are available through various news outlets and online platforms. These photos are often used in the news reports and retrospectives about the case. And crime scene is photographs of the crime scene, including the burned vehicle found in Cavite, have been published in news articles and documentaries. These images provide visual context to the events surrounding the case. News footage and interviews is GMA News. Case Unclosed. This investigative program aired an episode on December 4, 2008, delving into the details of the Dacer-Corbito case. It includes interviews with key individuals and reconstruction of events. 24 Horas report, a segment from GMA's 24 Hours reported on the arrest of a suspect in the case after 22 years. The reports includes footage of the arrest and commentary on the case's developments. Daily motion video, a video titled Red PS South Mancao absuelto sa Dacer-Corbito double murder case, discuss actual of the accused individuals.
Today, I'm John Rick James, soy depositor from 1.2 BS3. I'm here to discuss the conclusion. The Dacer-Corbito double murder case continues to be among the most tragic and politically inflammatory and unresolved crimes in the history of the Philippines. More than nearly 25 years later, however, the case still continues to project profound pulse of the justice system of the country. Impunity, hunting of evidence, and intervention by political authority. While some of the culprits were being punished, their mastermind of brains behind the assassination were still unknown and unreachable. The case being unopened, one is a stark reminder of the ongoing battle for justice and accountability in the Philippines. Thank you.